First of all, I'd like to thank Kevin and Cheryl for making some room on the agenda for me. This was kind of a last minute deal. I've been trying to get out to Gila for a few years now. I owe Cheryl quite a few drinks for not being able to make the dates work. So I don't want to talk too much in depth about 184. I want to more talk about the accomplishments. I did a little bit of this last year at a different meeting. And I'm doing some math here. And first of all, let me just reiterate what Kevin said. We got lots of traction, but I think the name of my game for the last 3 years has been getting out and getting materials into your hands for your membership. We still hear too much that on a daily, weekly, monthly basis in our office that, geez, I wish I'd have known about this program. We don't want to hear that anymore, throughout Indian country. 184 has been out there a long time. Like Kevin said, it's a great program. So that's kind of been my game for the last 3 years here. I spent 23 years at Wells Fargo, not getting to do a lot of the stuff I've been able to do the last 3 years, so it's been very rewarding to do what I've done the last 3 years here with reaching out with national outreach. So my math is based on a calendar year, and my friends at the EWONAP office for the 184 program, they share the cumulative report with me. So I had to do some study into that, and obviously their fiscal year is October 1 to September 30th, so I have to put that in a calendar basis because us lenders go by January 1 to December 31st. So last year in 16, the program did over $1 billion. $1 billion, $1,042 million and some change. Pretty impressive. In that $1 billion, there was a little over 5,800 units. First Tribal Lending did $309 million of that $1 billion. 1,560 units out of the 5,800 units. The team in South Dakota that I managed directly, we did $57.3 million of the 309. We did 309 units of the 1,560. So we did 20% of what First Tribal did, and we did 19% of the volume. First Tribal Lending is made up of two sources. It's retail, wholesale, and correspondent. Our retail business did 165 million, 863 units. The wholesale and correspondent group did 144 million, 697 units. So breaking down the 309 units that my team did, 68 units were on trust land. That's 22% of the 309. 35 of them were on our new construction, which is 51% of the units we did. So 51% is new construction on the reservation, which makes sense, but to me it's still a light number because, as many of us know, there's not a lot of housing stock for sale on the reservations. So I think that 51% is still a light number. And if any of you ever heard me talk before, the trust land transactions are the ones that really get me. So those are the ones we got to pay attention to. So having 51% of our new construction units go out of the 68 that we've done on trust land, only 68 out of 309, that's not enough. So Kevin talking about traction, we need more traction on the reservations, and a lot of that traction in those teeth are every one of you sitting out in the crowd today. If your membership doesn't know or how to get to the sources, it's going to be hard to become a homeowner. Obviously you have different challenges as a housing director or housing entity serving your population, because there's always going to be probably a larger population that you're serving under a rental circumstance versus a homeownership circumstance. It's understandable. One of the biggest kind of highlights in my boss's eyes, in February, First Tribal Lending hit $1 billion in servicing and 184 loans. So First Tribal Lending just does 184 loans nationwide. So we hit $1 billion in servicing. Servicing loans isn't fun, and I don't think there's anybody out there that's really good at it. There's always mistakes made on the servicing end with escrow balances and things like that. So if you have a lender standing in front of you and tell them they love servicing, they probably do because of the income side of it, but to actually do the job, it's not a very fun job. Some of the other things that I want to bring to surface, and one of them is a question. One of them was kind of a shaker for me a little bit, and it's coming out of California. Has anybody heard from IHS that IHS will no longer fund an individual for water and sewer services on the reservation. Has anybody heard that spelled yet?
Yeah.
Yes? Okay. I actually have a memo on IHS letterhead that states this. It's coming out of California, so we sent it up the ladder. We're trying to find the authors of that memo and investigate it from there. So Tom Wright has it in his hands. Yes, sir.
The question I have, because we're talking with the IHS agent out in my area, he was saying that it was any HUD-funded housing, like a home ownership or something like that.
We've never been able to service those.
Right,
Yep.
but that's
Yep.
what we're saying.
So what the gentleman in the front said, it's always been the fact that you as a TDHE or tribe, if you did a housing project, IHS wouldn't help you with those projects, and that's true. What the memo that I'm talking about states is, for an individual, basically declining our Native American applicants, saying that they're not gonna provide water and sewer services for them on their individual 184 loan.
So I'm wondering if this man is misconstruing a 184 loan as a HUD program.
Right.
This is our hopes.
That was my
Yeah.
point.
Cheryl said she's hoping that it's misconstrued from this person at IHS. I'm thinking it's probably someone new to IHS world, and they're getting the wrong information, but we're still trying to investigate. I wanted to bring it up and ask and see a raise of hands if anybody else has seen that, because it's very concerning to me. IHS should fund
What
those when
about
they
down
can.
payment derived from NAHASDA? Could they stretch it that far?
Yeah. Cheryl brings up down payment from NAHASDA, and I think, obviously we gotta watch that with what's going on in the budget talks today. I haven't heard anything about that yet. The other thing with IHS that we're finding, and I think you guys can all agree to this, our typical IHS approval letter says that Jewel Burnett is approved for water and sewer services pending funding available and structure arriving to site. We need one more thing in that. We've had tribal members kind of left out in the cold a little bit because they'll provide up to $15,000, for example. And if it goes above $15,000, that borrower is responsible for that difference. So we had a case where they said we'll cover a max of 15. It ended up costing 18, and our tribal member didn't have the difference. So we need IHS letters to state what their maximum amount is. And I think we have to accommodate for that and look at that, because we don't want our borrowers to be short when we close their construction loan. Because once we close the construction loan, that's all the money they have to finish the project. So we don't want them to be short on the back end, especially if they're tight on funds on the front end.
Sure.
Make sense? Okay. My friends at the BIA recently got some pushback out of the Fort Snelling office out of Minnesota. We had a certified TSR that was dated 2013 and certified. We needed an updated certified TSR because our application got taken last week or the week before. Fort Snelling says, Jewel, you already have a certified TSR dated July of 2013. There's been no change to that tract of land. We're not giving you another certified TSR. Okay, that's not, typically that's not acceptable, right? So we ran it up the ladder. HUD says, okay, if BIA will make a statement saying, telling us that in an email or a letter, that they're not giving us a new certified TSR and nothing's changed on that track, we'll allow you to go forward. So we're gonna keep that in our back pocket going forward. It's only Fort Snelling so far. All the other agencies have been pretty good about giving us the updated certified TSR. So as we have these little nuances, things that affect our tribal members in a positive way, we put them in our back pocket, keep them, and use them for down the road when it comes up again. Anybody else have any questions about TSRs or issues? Because normally you have to have a certified TSR on tribal trust land. It has to be dated and certified within the last 12 months. On individual trust land, dated and certified in the last 6 months. Okay? So we had one that was over 4 years old in Fort Snelling saying, we're not giving you another one. But we're moving forward with this deal because they gave us the email saying nothing's changed. That's a positive, that's a win for our tribal client. Lynn talked a little bit about this morning, but USDA and VA opportunities on trust land. Obviously, if any of you know anything about those, me as a lender cannot originate any USDA products or VA products on tribal trust land. We're trying to change that. I'm told there's an avenue where I can become approved as a VA originator for trust land. We're looking at becoming a certified lender for trust land transactions. The representative out of Fort Snelling office recently came to Tribal Relations Day at the state in South Dakota, and he handles 9-state region. There's probably 40 or 50 veterans in the room. They said, "Hey Dan, how many loans did you do last year in your 9-state region?" "I think we did 6. He kind of got beat up a little bit. There should be more than 6 VA loans done in that 9-state region. USDA, Lynn said a little bit about this morning. We're going to look at being one of those participating lenders for that 502 direct program. Something we're looking at with Sisseton and Wahpeton. Lastly, some of you were here last year when I presented. First Tribal has a scholarship program for Native Americans attending state schools and tribal colleges. It's a minimum of $60,000 a year that we're putting into the pot for 15 scholarships. We're funding way more than that on an annual basis. So that leftover money, we're saving it up and gonna increase the amount of scholarships that we hand out each year, more than 15. That scholarship program is funded by our loan officers and then matched by First Tribal. So every loan closed, our loan officers put money into that pot for a scholarship awarded to a Native American college student across the country. Lastly is a question to all of you. Who's going to Nashville? Cheryl asked us in her last meeting.
Get our funding.
Get our funding.
We're gonna rent a big van, can hop it.
There you go, rent a big van, rent a big van, Lynn says. We'll have a booth at Nashville. We're also having we're working with the new director and Pam on trying to carve out a piece of the agenda that doesn't impact what they're doing, and we're gonna have a social that night. First Travel's gonna sponsor it. It's gonna be off property somewhere, so we're working with them on the email blast to go out to all you that are gonna attend. So if you're there and have time, come out and have a adult soda or adult beverage or a non-adult beverage and some appetizers on First Tribal. Will be there with the booth. I think that's about it. But again, back to traction. I have packets of information that I brought with me. I know I didn't bring enough for everybody. If you don't get one and they're all gone, if you leave me your business card, that's something that my team has been spending a lot of time on in the last 3 or 4 months, is reaching out to tribes across the nation. It's one of the things that we've wanted to do in the last 15, 18 years is call every tribe that's on that federal approved list, and we've never been able to do it. We have the staff now that we're able to finally start reaching out to tribes that most of them aren't on the HUD 184 approved list, and those are the ones that we're trying to touch first because we're trying to educate them around the 184 program. So if you want a packet, we can send you out a packet of information. If you want a brochure set up for your office, we can send you out a brochure set up for your office. Again, having that material in your hand so your tribal memberships have the information about the 184 program. 184 is not the best deal in the house out there right now. Lynn's 502 program or the VA program are better programs. So if we can't get people into those 2 programs, they typically fall into our laps. So there's options out there for tribal members. We just need to get the materials into their hands so they understand what their options are out there.
And you don't have to be on Indian land to do, you can be off reservation to get to loan, because I've got
Shelley says that does 184 have to be on tribal land to use 184? You do not. There's 23 states opened up statewide that you can use 184 anywhere in the state. Michigan's one of them, Florida's one of them, North Carolina's one of them, South Carolina's one of them. New York, we have anywhere but the 5 boroughs, but my friends in New York, I talked to some of you already, First Tribal's not licensed in New York. That's something that's on my to-do list. Rita's getting tired of me saying that, I know she is. The company doesn't want to be licensed in New York right now due to the regulation requirements and the licensing requirements and the exorbitant amount of fees that they want from a mortgage lender. So things have been changing the last 2 years, so we're hoping some of that kind of stuff gets flattened out a little bit. But First Tribal Lending, that's the only state that we're not licensed in, is New York. So not being prejudiced by any means. I want to do business with you, so.
Heard it with you.
Yep. Does anybody have any questions about 184? I know I didn't talk about programmatic specific, but one of my offers to all of you and what my job is because I spend a lot of time on the road meeting with tribes, tribal housing authorities, councils, tribes that are putting together projects, housing projects. That's kind of my function within the team. So I'm on the road quite a bit. Every project that we've helped put together or that's in the talks, it's a little different. Everybody does something a little bit different within the program. One thing we're doing right now in Pine Ridge is they're building 4 fourplexes and gonna use their VASH vouchers. So they have 3,200 veterans on the reservation. So I'm looking forward to the doors opening on that project.
Did they get project-based or did they get, project-based vouchers? Was it project-based?
I don't know what they were awarded. They got a pretty good chunk of VASH vouchers, and it looks like it's probably gonna make a majority, if not all, the payment for them.
Okay.
So yeah, and there's 2 other tribes in the Pacific Northwest that are going down the same road that
Yeah.
were awarded VASH vouchers.
Yeah.
But I think they're coming up to the deadline to where they have to have significant progress before I
Yes.
think they're gonna get an extension on them.
Yeah.
So, but 184 is wide open, guys. You can use it for rentals, you can use it for home ownership.
So how many tribes do you have building apartment buildings or fourplexes or?
I got a spreadsheet that I track that when a conversation comes up with a tribe, and I'm not a patient person by birth, but this job has taught me patience. But I have to track, so it's always a constant follow-up because you guys know that your direction changes, could change daily depending on your administration, your board, what have you. So it's just one of those things that once we know you have a project in mind, we just keep following up with you to see if there's anything we can do for you or help you with it or what have you. There's probably half a dozen that one where we got the appraisal, the appraiser was up on the site on the 20th, and it's a 20-unit project. So this Pine Ridge one's gonna move really fast. So then we've got 4 or 5 others that, it's a 20-unit project or it's a buying a fourplex or what have you. So all kinds of different nuances and options, and again, every project is a little different. I think I might have mentioned this 2 years ago, but Paul Ironcloud, as you guys all know Paul. Paul passed away here recently. Pine Ridge is doing a lot of stuff that Paul had started. They're gonna finish that, and they're gonna just keep announcing that. But Paul did a 45-unit project, created a whole new entity within the housing authority. He did 45 governor's homes, and I think they're around, total cost to construct, I think the amount would be about $120,000 a unit. I think he did a $6 million Title VI loan. But this group that he formed inside the housing authority is responsible for 100% rent collections. So it's not subsidized in anything. So the tenants were all counseled before they got to move into the unit. And if they don't make the payment, and I know she's a collector, the collector would be out there knocking on the door saying, "Hey, Jewel, we need your monthly payment." I know that's a big issue for you guys out there, and I think Mark said something about it this morning, why aren't you collecting your rents or what have you? I know it's a problem. So that's the key, and I think that's the most fearful thing for you as tribal housing leaders or board members is, you're taking on debt and you're worried about how to service it. Well, we've got to put the right people in those houses, and that's not as easy as it is for me to say it. We understand that. So the plan is only good as if you execute what you put on paper. It's not even worth the paper you wrote it on if you don't execute to it. Okay? So again, I just wanted to cover the highlights. I will come to you if you need me to come do education. I do home buyers fairs, I do home buyer credit counseling. I'm on the road doing that kind of stuff all the time. So if you'd like me to come visit and do education with your housing board, your counselor, or what have you, as long as it works in my schedule, I'm willing to travel. I haven't been home that much here lately in probably the past 2-3 months, so that's okay though. Any other questions? I know you're all thirsty. You had a long day. I tried to finish strong. I tried to keep your attention, but I appreciate you all showing back up and listening to me here. Thank you.